Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great because I just watched the Ghost of Tsushima Direct State of Play mini trailer gameplay showcase thing and Knuckles, I don't know. I watched the gameplay reveal for Ghost of Yotei and it has me excited, but there's some caveats. And I kind of want to talk about that today. I want to just run through the whole trailer, talk about what I like, what I don't like, or what I think needs improving, because I like it for the most part. Just for reference, I have put almost 80 hours into Ghost of Tsushima. I have the platinum for single player. I almost have the platinum for the whole game. I'm just missing some multiplayer achievements, but honestly, I can't really be bothered to go back and get them. But yeah, I love this game. It is definitely my favorite Sony single player game, at least modern movie game. I know people don't really like the out of 10 system, but just for reference, if I were to rank Sony games, I would give Spider-Man 2018 and God of War 2018 both 8 out of 10s, and then I would give Ghost a 9. So I do put it a grade above Sony's other games. The game is absolutely gorgeous. It has, in my opinion, the most fun combat out of any of the Sony single-player games I've played. It has an amazing story, a great ending. It's a great game. If you're on PS5 or PC, I would definitely recommend picking it up. Now, it's funny, because I just mentioned Spider-Man and God of War as well, and all of these games came out during the PS4 era, and they were the first, in their series. Yes, I know God of War had previous games from earlier consoles, but the 2018 one was, the reboot and the start of the new, well, I would say series, but I guess it's the duology with that and Ragnarok. Whatever. These first games in their series have gotten tons of praise, deservedly so. Don't get me wrong, I definitely do think Spider-Man and God of War are slightly overrated, but they are still great games nonetheless. And Sony, this generation especially, has had quite a bit of a problem when it comes to the sequels to these games. And that problem is that Sony has a tendency to do what I like to call safe sequels, where the sequels aren't bad by any means. God of War Ragnarok is still a great game. Spider-Man 2, not so much, because the story kind of sucked, but either way. Story aside, the issue is the sequels to these games don't really take risks or do much innovation on their previous games. Now, is there new stuff added? Yes, these aren't just DLCs for previous games like some people will have you believe. I remember when people were saying that Ragnarok was a DLC for 2018, and I'm like, no, this is a completely new game. But the games do just enough to be different, but they're still very samey to the original. And this is mainly an issue gameplay wise. Now, I'm not saying that the games have to reinvent the wheel. Obviously they're gonna have lots of stuff from the original in the new game, but there's just not enough new added on top, in my opinion. And this is the biggest concern I have with Ghost of Yotei, because it looks a lot like Ghost of Tsushima, which is great because I love Ghost of Tsushima, but the fact that it looks so much like Ghost of Tsushima is also kind of the issue at the same time. So instead of just rambling on, why don't I get into some actual specifics? So the first thing that really caught my eye is whenever you visit Atsu's home, you can hit a button, they didn't say which one, but you can just, with the press of a button, go back in time to when she was a child before her family was killed. And it's a way for you to get closer to her and understand why she's so thirsty for revenge.
When Atsu returns to her childhood home, with the push of a button, you can experience those cherished times.
This is great. I really like this. If you remember in Ghost of Tsushima, there would be flashback scenes and levels, but they were kind of like their own thing, and they were scripted to happen at certain points. But here, it looks like you can just immediately go into her past at pretty much any point you'd like. Now, obviously, we don't know exactly how interactive these moments are going to be, but still, from the sounds of it, I really like it. I think if it's done well, which I don't doubt they will do it well, this could be a great way to do world building. So this is definitely something I'm very excited for. Also, something that I think is cool is the bounty system that they're adding. Now, obviously, a bounty system is nothing new to games, but for Ghost of Tsushima, or the Tsushima series, I don't even know what I want to call it anymore. For the Ghost games, this will be new, because in Tsushima, there weren't bounties.
Atsu can also hunt down her own bounties that bring her all around the land. This is a lucrative way to make some money to fuel her vengeance quest.
So I don't think this will be anything revolutionary, but I think it'll be cool because from the looks of it, it's just going to take you to a bunch of different boss battles, which I did thoroughly enjoy Ghost of Tsushima's boss battles. Also, I do like this system of the wolf pack. I'm going to show it on screen right here, where as you meet people, they'll show up here. It becomes part of like a bigger painting or portrait or whatever. And then if they have things for you, a quest or an item or whatnot, you can just see it from here. It's nothing major, but I do think it looks good. Also, the interrogation system looks cool, even if it doesn't actually do much for exploration. I think it's just a neat little thing to have, you know, instead of just ending your enemies, you can interrogate them, get some information first, and then kill them.
If you interrogate an enemy, choosing to ask about the Oni, you could uncover a landscape scarred by fire with more bold, samurai-like enemies to fight and abilities for Atsu to learn. Or, if you ask about the Kitsune, might lead you to an area filled with snow and deception, enemies that ambush you, and new ninja-like tactics to study.
So now I want to move on to where my concerns lie. Now, I guess I'll go ahead and get the obvious out of the way. I am worried for the story. This isn't related to the direct, really. But allegedly, this game is being written, at least in part, by some of the people who did Dragon Age the Veilguard. So I'm gonna say cautiously optimistic because I don't think Sucker Punch is gonna let any, like, terrible writing get through or anything. But you never know. I mean, I thought the same thing for Spider-Man 2, and look how that game ended up. I don't know if I'll ever quite get over the fact that Peter Parker retired from being Spider-Man at 25 years old to go fight climate change. But whatever, I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic. I'm gonna look on the bright side and say that Sucker Punch knows what they're doing. Now, actually relating back to the direct again, I think Sir Bruv put it best in his video when he said it feels like this game lacks ambition, which is kind of what I was saying before, where it's very safe. Because on the actual combat side of things, and like, you know, upgrading your character, building your legend as the Oni, not much has really changed from Tsushima. For example, they talked about how there's a bunch of new weapons now. You're not just limited to a katana. There's dual swords, a long katana, which I know it has a different name, but I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. A spear that you can throw. There's like a variety of weapons. It's great, right? Well, when you actually listen to what they're saying, just take a listen to this.
Atsu always wields a weapon. As for which, that's up to you. Will you choose a katana, spear, a surigama, odachi, or dual swords? Each is uniquely effective against a particular enemy and has their own set of upgrades to discover and master.
I was excited for the new weapons, and then I heard that, because what this sounds like to me is that they're just replacing the stance system from Tsushima with different weapons. I think this is a massive missed opportunity because they could have put all these weapons in and given them each their own unique stances that could be effective against any enemy type, and then it's just down to you picking whichever weapon you like the most or think is the coolest. But instead, I guarantee what's gonna happen is you're gonna be swapping weapons on the fly depending on which enemy you're fighting, and it's gonna be a lot like Tsushima, where if you're not using the proper stance to fight an enemy, or in this case, the proper weapon to fight an enemy, you're gonna have a bad time and it's just gonna be slow. And then saying that each has their own unique upgrades to get, that just sounds like they each have their own skill tree, which, guess what? In Tsushima, each stance had like its own mini skill tree. It would not surprise me at all if this was basically the same thing. And I think it just rubs me the wrong way because they try to sell it as like a new thing. And obviously, I get it, right? They're trying to sell the game to you. Of course, they're gonna gas it up to be more than it actually is. But instead of doing that, why don't you just like actually add new cool weapons, give them each stances like in the first game that can deal with the different enemies, but then it actually allows you to pick and choose what you use instead of kind of being forced into using certain weapons depending on the enemy you're fighting. I don't know, it feels like very missed potential. And honestly, this doesn't feel like an upgrade over the original game. This just feels like a change. Not a bad one, mind you, just a disappointing one. And then the other thing that really disappointed me about this direct was when they introduced the customization system, because it is literally the exact same thing as Ghost of Tsushima. Take a look.
While exploring Ezo, you'll discover all sorts of new armor, charms, and gear. Perfect for building up Atsu around your chosen playstyle. Are you stealth, ranged, or melee focused? Find and combine the pieces that are just right for you. And of course, customize the look of your armor and weapons to make sure that your version of Atsu looks and fights just the way you want.
If you've played Ghost of Tsushima, you know this is literally exactly how it works in that game. You can go out, do the side activities, and get different charms, which just provide, like, small number boosts to you. And even the charm they showed off in the video there was just, oh, it makes perfect parries easier to perform. This kind of stuff here is why people call these safe sequels DLC. Now, obviously, like I said before, I don't agree with calling these DLC. I think that's very disingenuous, but at the same time, I can't entirely blame people for doing it because so much stuff from this game works the exact same as it did in Tsushima. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while, you would know I have no problem with games reusing assets between sequels or whatever. I'm a massive Dark Souls fan. I would be a hypocrite if I did have a problem with that. They literally reuse weapons in every game. Even outside of Dark Souls, they carried some of them over to Elden Ring. The problem is that almost nothing in this game seems very different from Tsushima. And again, I understand it's a sequel, so it's not like it's going to be drastically different, but that's not really what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for improvements on top of what was already there. Instead of that, we just kind of got more of what was already there. Going back to Dark Souls, for example, even if there are a lot of similarities between, say, the level up systems in each game, there's similar weapons in each game still felt like a massive leap above the previous one in terms of just general feel, visuals, most importantly, boss design. I mean, it honestly feels like the Dark Souls 3 bosses were made by an entirely different studio than 1 and 2's. It was that big of a leap. Unfortunately, it just seems like Yotei is going to be falling into the same safe sequel category that these other Sony games have fallen into, where it doesn't look like it's going to be a bad game by any means, unless, again, the story ends up being bad, but they're just also not taking a big enough risk. Like, try new stuff. If something works, keep it, but if there's improvements to be made, go for it. I'm not saying reinvent the wheel or anything, just do something. Either way, the game does look great. I do have high hopes for it, and when it inevitably does come to PC, assuming the story isn't complete garbage, I will definitely be picking it up. And just remember, in case you think I've sounded overly negative throughout this video, I want to be wrong on this. I would love to go in and have my mind blown and be like, oh my god, this is a huge step up from Tsushima. It just doesn't seem like that's gonna be the case. So remember, these criticisms are out of love, not hate. And yeah, guys, with all that being said, that is gonna do it for this video. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to Ghost of Yotei. I'm just a little disappointed with some of the stuff they showed off, but overall, still excited. I still think they're making some cool new additions, and ultimately, I can't wait for the PC port. So yeah, just let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think I was invalid in any criticisms I made? Do you think it's fine that the game is pretty samey to Tsushima? Or do you agree with me? You know, that would also be nice. But yeah, in all seriousness, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more. Join us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for Salt streams, and join us every Friday night, including tonight, at 9 p.m. Eastern on the gaming channel for gaming streams, and I will catch you all next time.